Hello and welcome. Crazy last few minutes of setting up here. As usual, we wouldn't want to make anything easy. But welcome to the Electric Car Hangout. I'm Brian. Thanks for joining. And we made it. A minute late, but we made it. I hope everyone's having a good day. And hi, John. Good to see you. Um, I did get your texts throughout the day, but I have not had time to respond to them. Hey, Roland's here, Chemist America Lifestyle. Hey. Todd's here, welcome. Hope you guys are all doing good. Yeah, John, I did get the texts. I will respond, but haven't had time yet today. Hey, Jason, welcome. Did everybody catch the earnings call? If you didn't, Dan Burkland on dburkland.com has a really good written overview of the earnings call. We might be having a box elder bug in here zipping around in the background, it looks like, every now and again, so that's exciting. So Tesla kind of crushed their numbers again, which it's getting to the point where that's just what they do. And hey, Glenn, welcome. So that's great news, but some other little tidbits came out of the earnings call and stuff, so I wanted to talk about that and some other kind of stuff that's been going around. Obviously, we got the charging cable situation we got to talk about a little bit. And John, I don't think the Pi phone has been rumored, and people have been pushing that for about a year, and I don't think there's anything to it. In fact, I think Elon's even said they would never make a phone. I don't think it's. I think people think, hey, Apple's going to make a car. Tesla would probably make a phone then in retaliation or something. I don't know. But as far as I know, that's complete BS that people keep pushing just for the sake of putting Tesla and something new in a thumbnail to get clicks. But if anyone knows anything else, feel free to chime in the comments and correct me. Yeah, so Tesla. I'll bring up the second screen here, and we can see. I am not a financial expert at all, but it sounds like they crushed all the expectations. I have heard a little bit of, oh, well, they had some regulatory credits come back. So do they need that? At this point, it's pretty clear that they don't need that. They just get them when things work out. And so collecting a little extra money to go into the FSD team or whoever needs it to keep pushing things forward is probably a good thing. So they're profitable and ramping up things here in Gigafactory Berlin and Gigafactory Texas. Sounds like they won't really be rolling by the end of the year, in massive numbers. Toward the end of the year, they're going to be in good shape, and then by next year, they should be fully rolling. So that's exciting news. It sounded like, I think the comment on the earnings call was something to the effect of, this quarter's okay, next quarter should be okay, we'll see how the China stuff shakes out. And then, Q3 and Q4 are going to be BANANAS. So that's pretty exciting. From a financial standpoint, it says there's some other things in here, lots of... here are all the numbers. You can download this from the Tesla website, Investor Relations. And so here's some more growth in vehicle deliveries, increased average selling price, which we on the consumer side aren't super happy about, but growth in other parts of the business as well. Jason says Tesla to the moon. Hope I didn't blow your ears out there, but yeah, it's exciting. It seems like they are just a freight train. Yeah, I wonder if a dividend will ever happen. Maybe when Elon runs out of expensive ideas, or they just have so much money they don't know what to do with it. Rob Maurer on his live stream was talking about that he feels like Elon's tone on that kind of stuff has changed a little bit. Like, yeah, maybe that is in the future. So, oh, sorry that your Model Y delivery was delayed to September. That's a bummer. Yeah, I hope that moves back up. I would think as production ramps in Texas that they're going to start bringing those timelines back to, normal, sane levels. And so, yeah, they've got a whole bunch of cash. Did well on their production. I wanted to get back down to this. You can see they're growing market share in all regions, which is good. And then this was a fun chart here. The interest, gross orders of Teslas, and then everybody advertised their EVs in the Super Bowl. That got people searching for EVs, comparing EVs, and ordering Teslas. So that's cool. If people ordered any EV, I'm happy. Doesn't have to just be Tesla, but Tesla's definitely got the EV name recognition. And then their operating margin is going sky high too. So energy storage sounds like that's okay, but kind of lagging where they were expecting it to be. And then fun photos. So this is Berlin. And the Model Y body shop there. And then the Cyber Rodeo. Hope that brings good memories back, Jason. I guess you were probably in your hotel watching it. Sound of Silence traditionally is just Teslas. I was hoping we'd see... last year was my first year, so I can't say definitively. But last year was my first year, and I was thinking, oh, it's going to be a huge EV party, and it was a huge just Tesla party for the most part, which is fine. But yeah, it would be cool if there was a Rivian or something else there. So we'll see. Maybe someone will bring one just for the curiosity factor. More Giga Texas. So, my heater just turned on, but so I'll let you look at the difference in parts from the gigacasting to all the welded parts that there used to be. I'm working in the basement, so I got a little space heater here. So anyway, more charts and financial statements. I'm not equipped to walk you through all of that. So, but cool that they kind of showed some of that fun atmosphere off from the Cyber Rodeo and Giga Berlin going online. So that was cool. Jason says, my brother picks up his Rivian this week, and there's no way he'll let me take it to South Dakota. Maybe by the time South Dakota happens, he'll want to drive it himself. Although there's lack of CCS out that way, so unless he wants to take a long trip, it sounds like that's going to maybe have to wait till next year. Yeah, but it'll be cool to see more of them. I keep seeing people post like, "Oh, I saw a Rivian here, I saw a Rivian there," and I haven't seen one since early 2020, and it wasn't moving. So, really excited to see one. Jason saw the one at TeslaCon. Looks good and very fast. I hope they survive and can get prices under control. Yeah, it seems like they're kind of going through their version of production hell right now, and hopefully will find their way through it. I would hope with the Amazon money they've got coming in for the delivery trucks that they should be able to, if they can kind of lean down the rest of their business, should be able to survive, because it seems like everybody wants them to, and it seems like they're going at a good pace. Hey Jeff, what was your favorite Tesla-oriented part of your Florida trip? Have you ever done the Black Hills Tesla meetup in South Dakota? Yep, we were just talking about that. That is the shirt I'm wearing, actually. Did that last year and going again this year. That's May 20th, I want to say. I think I'm heading out there on the 19th and then through that weekend, coming home Sunday. So, my favorite Tesla-oriented part of the Florida trip is probably autopilot / FSD, where I looked at a better route planner to kind of figure out where our night stops were going to be, but then I didn't really use it on the trip. It's a great tool, but the Tesla navigation makes it so easy. And with FSD and that giant map that's on your dash all the time, I didn't look at directions at all. I either navigated to the next supercharger that I knew was on the list, just off the top of my head, or I navigated to our destination for the day and didn't care what the road names were. I paid attention, but, had somebody, had we been pulled over and they'd said, do you know what highway you're on? Or do you know what, interchange you're at? Point to it on this map. It would take me a while to find it, because it was just so simple. And that actually brings up I guess we'll kind of get into this. I wanted to a little later, but it's funny because I find so much freedom in that I can just enjoy the trip. I can put as much or as little thought into it as I want. I can strategize, which I probably will do on the way to South Dakota. What's my optimum charging times and, fastest, way to get there and stuff. But on that trip, I just was like, sure, we'll do whatever and we'll get there eventually. Traffic was a bigger hassle than charging really was. And an interesting comment came in from my brother where we were talking about EVs, and I was saying, yeah, you got to get into one. And he's got a car that works, so he's not really, in the market. But I was telling him, yeah, your next car is going to have to be an EV, and Volvo's got one and everything. And he's been on a few road trips with me, so he kind of knows the drill. But he said, I can't go electric yet because it seems like electric road trips are all about, the charging stops are the destinations instead of going out and seeing cool things. And it got me wondering about, the appearances of things. And, in my road trip videos, and I think a lot of people do this, it seems like people want, excuse me, people want to know the stats. They want to know how the chargers work. They want to know your charging experience, as you're doing that. And so a big part of my road trip videos are, we went here, we did, we're here for this many minutes, this is what it cost, on to the next one. And so I can see with him not being an owner, watching that, it's like you're hardly even at your destination. You're just charging all the time. And if you're always charging, that's not a real road trip. That's not a fun road trip. And so I'm kind of wondering about what the perception is versus the reality. Because to me, the trip was fun, but it was the Great Smoky Mountain National Park part of it was the fun. The the Cocoa Beach, Kennedy Space Center, our boat tour, going up the Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga. That was the fun of the trip. But on an EV channel, talking about EVs, I feel like there's a responsibility to say, here's how the EV worked through that, because as much as I included pictures of my family and activities we did, to kind of balance that out, I didn't give you the whole, this is our whole family trip. And don't worry about charging, it just worked. So I'd be interested in people's perspectives on that, but kind of wondering, on one hand, we're giving people information about what traveling is like with this, but am I also making it seem too much like that's the destination? Because really it was, it's not that we didn't stop those places. Obviously we did, but it's more of a, we enjoyed that part of the trip too. I had, picnics with my daughter, or we went shopping, or we had to change diapers or things like that. And so, I'm just kind of trying to figure out, like, how do we balance that perception out, and still give people the data they want to hear. So any thoughts, let me know. Thank you for the super sticker, Julian. Really appreciate that. I'm going to share that just because the description the description of the stickers don't actually pop up in the software, but they describe them, so that's fantastic. So thank you, Julian. A hippo character spins around in his chair, arms flung up in the air. Fantastic. Thank you. And John, thank you as well. And I don't know if you guys can see this stuff in the chat. I can't in my window here. I tried to get my laptop showing the stream, and that just completely died. That's actually, I was trying to get that up and running so I could use the other camera for today, but it's having some struggles over there. But John, thank you for the super sticker. Pair character jumping up and down saying #1 fan. Fantastic. Thank you. I do really appreciate that, but you don't have to do that. It's just nice. So let's see. So that was my favorite Tesla-oriented part of the Florida trip, going back up to Jeff's question. And I am really looking forward to the South Dakota trip. Last year, my wife and daughter came with me, and it was fun to have them there. We did some hikes and saw buffalo as a family, as God intended. And it was a great trip. This year, it's just going to be me. And from a filming and socialization standpoint, I'm thinking this year will be better because I won't be inconveniencing them or balancing, making sure my daughter gets fed and, stays where she's supposed to, and, balancing that and trying to hang out with people. So really looking forward to a good experience out there this year. Hopefully the weather whether we'll cooperate. John asks, now you know they were talking about superchargers for EVs. Tesla was cheaper, but they lost the bid. Yeah, that was a proposal in Texas, and apparently they didn't like Tesla's cheaper, faster to assemble, overall simpler system for whatever reason. Who knows? But they're going to have expensive chargers at gas stations. So it's a bummer. You would think they'd want to save people money and do things efficiently, but maybe there's more to it that I don't know. But all the reporting on it sounds like they just went with, much, much more expensive way to do things. John says, "Are you sure it's not the sounds of yelling in the bars?" Yeah, there's some yelling in the bars. Actually, after a certain time, I guess there are other people there too, but the Tesla crew is generally just hanging out, talking at tables and stuff like that. So nothing got too rowdy that I saw. John says, this Saturday I'm going to Brainerd Hamfest, big computer show, National Guard Armory. Everybody look for Hamfest Brainerd, yeah. And you'll get to check out the charging up there, too. Apparently Todd said I had a box elder on my left shoulder. That doesn't surprise me. It's our house is a little, it's from the 60s, and it's not sealed up as tight as most modern homes. So we unfortunately have a big box elder tree in the front yard, and so they all like to come into my nice warm office. Jason says, as long as the thing you want to see is within 150 miles of a supercharger, it should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of always that is the, I guess, the little caveat to road tripping and stuff, but there are more and more parks and places with at least level 2 charging, and so hopefully you can find some place or a hotel or wherever you want to go. Jason also says, check out Kyle Connor's Rivian Moab UT track. Pretty impressive. Yeah, he's done so much with the Rivian and really put it through its paces, road trips, range tests, charging tests. And I haven't watched everything, but it seems like it's just incredibly capable. So, see, John says, if you're going to drive fast, you're going to use a bunch of energy. If you want to worry about your energy, drive 50 miles an hour in right-hand lane. Yeah, that can get kind of dangerous too with, going too slow. But yeah, watching your speed and making sure you're going to get there is important. Markup on the electricity. I'm not sure what that's from. Markup on the electricity. I'm not, Jeff, I'm sorry. I was probably talking about something when you typed that and it made sense. And Roland says, with our SR Plus, we enjoy our road trip. We don't mind the charging because we stop every 100 miles with our daughter. Yep. Yeah, Kwame's got to get out and stretch and squirm. And markup from charges at gas stations. Yeah, I would imagine there's some kind of deal there where, the gas stations are going to get a cut, even though they're going to do a lot better business with the snacks and all that kind of stuff that, you know, that's where they make their money. Um, it'll be interesting, yeah, if it's worse than superchargers or how would they'll do that. It'll be interesting. I do know it's interesting because Tesla put in that bid, but they're also not going to stop. They're also not, how do I say this so it's not a double negative? They're going to continue to roll out their own superchargers. And so maybe that was part of the Texas calculus was we'll get more chargers out of this because Tesla's going to do their own anyway. And then we'll get some for other people too. That may have been a part of it. Even though Tesla would have put CCS connectors on the superchargers, so it would have been a cool experiment to see how they roll that out. So I would have liked to have seen that go through. So yeah, that's interesting. The John says Tom on State of Charge just did an updated video on Tesla Tap after a video. Oh, great! I haven't seen that yet, but I did see a couple other ones pop up of people using the other brand one. I think Plug and Play EV did one because he was charging his new. He got the Kia, or not the Kia, the Ioniq 5 Hyundai. Ioniq 5 and was somewhere with a Tesla charger, and so he was showing how he could charge his Ioniq 5 from the Tesla charger. So kind of funny, a bunch of those just kind of came out all at the same time. We didn't plan it, or at least nobody told me we planned it. Going back to the earnings call, a couple interesting nuggets there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, but sounds like they're still on track for Cybertruck production starting next year, which is good. I think putting that off any later is going to be a mistake, so the faster they can bring that to market, that's good. But they're also planning a dedicated robo-taxi vehicle, and they've hinted at this in the last couple of years off and on, but it always seemed very far away. Now they're saying they are expecting to bring that to production in 2024, which says they've got a lot of confidence in FSD. It's a vehicle that won't have pedals or steering wheel or anything, so I imagine it'll have a screen or multiple screens. Probably audio interfaces that you can, maybe say, hey, Tesla, take a left here or something like that built in. But it sounds like it's going to be, they kept talking about how cheap it's going to be to make. So I don't know if that will be, single motor, low range, and they'll just plan on when it's off use, it charges. And really you wouldn't want that to have great acceleration, capable acceleration, but not like you'd want in a car, because if people are just passive passengers, you're not going to want to take off like a bullet and, scare the heck out of everyone. So it'll be really interesting to see what that's like, if that ends up being something that looks like the rendering of for the Boring Company that kind of had those pods that kind of had the high, four corners and then kind of glass everywhere around. Maybe they're thinking they could, with maybe a more boxy structure, do something that's cheaper to produce. and using glass. I don't know why that would be cheaper, but um, using glass panels around it. Excuse me. So it'll be really interesting to see what that is. Like I said, it shows their confidence in FSD. They reiterated again that they expect that to go to everyone who's got FSD, like ready for prime time for the most part by the end of the year. We're going to need to see some improvements there. I do have the latest update, and in a couple places, it's done incredibly well. In my neighborhood, it used to take very jerky turns at slow speeds, and that was driving me nuts. I'd report it all the time. And I did have that happen once in pretty heavy rain the other day, but so far in this build, it's been very smooth on those turns. Still makes some annoying decisions, and some days it seems like it works really well. Other days it's like, why are you being weird? Still startles my wife because she's obviously not paying attention to what's going on the road. So if she's reading or knitting or something, and it kind of veers a little bit, even if it's for a good reason, uh, you know, she gets a little startled there. So most of the time I'm just using that by myself. But interesting to see what the next few iterations of FSD are going to be. I was watching Jim, the Iowa Tesla guy's video. He did kind of his test path, and some stuff. I think most things were pretty much the same as the last build, still the same mistakes. And then it made one turn or a couple turns that were pretty good. So, it's going to be interesting to see how different people feel things have been going. I haven't had, just making sure this is true before I say it, I haven't had the intense moments of phantom braking on this build. I've had a couple weird slowdowns and a couple slowdowns where I could kind of see like, oh, I know what it's being cautious about, even though it didn't need to. And so it's going to be, interesting to see how that goes. I will get to the charging port thing, or the charging cable thing here. Just other thing from the earnings call, Tesla or Elon still seems very bullish on the possibilities of Optimus, and so again, that's going to be one of those. I don't know. We'll wait and see in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Kind of what the progress is. This could be a FSD thing. He was talking on the call about, FSD's had a lot of false horizons where they think they're at the top of the hill and then they're stuck and need to like refigure some things, and then, oh, we hit another plateau. I don't know if Optimus is going to be similar to that when you can consider all of the balance things that it's going to do. Now, maybe all the batteries will be in its feet, so it'll be super stable because it can't move over or fall over. But it's going to be interesting to follow. But I don't think anything. I don't think we need to get too excited about it yet until we see something actually, even in a test stage. So Jason said his 10.11.2 is phenomenal, handles the post-blizzard snow piles. That's very good. And narrow lanes with little problem. The one night I was driving back and it was snowing because, of course, it's snowing in the middle of April. And the early in the winter, I was testing FSD, and just coming around a corner was a little slick. And the second the wheels started spinning, it was, the red flashing, take over immediately, take over immediately. And this time, and I've noticed this once or twice throughout the rest of the winter, more recently in the spring here, that it kind of slipped a little, caught itself, and got right on the right path. Took, again, one of the corners into my neighborhood and started sliding, adjusted perfectly. My hands were around the wheel but not holding tight, and so I just let it try to figure it out. It wasn't, busy or dangerous or anything, but so I don't think it's ready for full bore blizzards or anything like that yet, but I'm happy to see a change from the beginning of winter to the end of winter, that some things are starting to be handled by it a little better. So that's been my experience, at least. John was on the Air Force Base yesterday by the airport and used full self-driving on the city streets on the base, and it worked. Worked fine, got a lot of funny looks, yeah. So I think the general sense, and like Rob Maurer is much better going through all of the minutia of the numbers and understanding what everything means. That's not my purview. But it was great to hear not only that it was another good quarter, which seems pretty consistent now and should be for the foreseeable future, but it also seems like they're positive about the future, have plans, and are starting to get things set up to take care of some of those long-awaited projects. So, I was very happy with the call. It's worth listening to if you want just a written summary. Like I said, Dan Burkland did a really nice write-up of kind of the key points and then some of the questions and answers and stuff like that. So that's worth checking out on dburkland.com. After this, I'll put a link in the description so people can find that. Now let's talk about the charging cable, because everyone wants to talk about that. So Tesla announced, or Elon announced over the last weekend, that mobile connectors would no longer come with the cars. And I'm a person who uses a mobile connector every single night. If I need to charge, I just plug it in when I get home. Okay, looks like internet might be jogging a little bit here, so hopefully we'll stay on. But I use the mobile connector every night, and it's been fantastic. I did that with our Model S, then obviously, put the mobile connector for the Model S, when we traded that back in. So I think it's an essential piece of gear, and I've used it on camping trips, at hotels, at all sorts of places. So I was really disappointed, and I was really on the train of this is a terrible decision. And then Elon was saying, like, well, nobody uses it, which I don't think is exactly true. I think some people just use it rarely. But he was kind of pointing out, and I think Rob Maurer was talking about this too, if it is a huge waste factor, then it probably does make sense for it to be an option not you just automatically get one. At the price of the vehicles, I don't think it should be an add-on, or if you take it off, I think it should be a discount. Um, and I have seen a lot of people on Twitter and places saying, "Oh, we just never use ours." Like it's I we've had two cars and they both sat in the bag in the trunk and we've never even opened them. So that's going to be some people's experience. But I like to think of it as a gas can. And when I'm talking to people at EV events, I tell them, you don't need to worry because almost anywhere's got electricity. And you can even get a charge off of 110 or 120. And being able to tell people that and give them the confidence of, oh, yeah, my cabin or my mom's house or wherever has electricity. So, yeah, I'll just slow charge when I'm up there or whatever. I think that takes the barrier to entry way down in people's minds. And half of getting people to get into EVs is more a mental thing than an actual your daily needs kind of thing. So I don't like the decision, but I can see it working as an option that you can opt out of. We specifically, like Tesla's point of view and Elon's point of view is kind of like, well, if you're going to charge in your garage, get a mobile connector. But when we bought our first Tesla, I wasn't sure we'd want to stick with Tesla. And like now I know there's things like the Tesla Tap and stuff like that you could make that transition. But a new owner's not going to know that. And so we put in a NEMA 1450 plug and just we're like, well, if our next car is a Hyundai or Kia or whatever, we'll just use that connector on that plug and get the same kind of charging. So disappointing, but if really a lot of them are going to waste, then I do see a point. I think having it well explained, and Tesla's not super at communication sometimes, but if new owners know this is a thing I need to opt into, or I'd rather they have to opt out of, I think it can still work. But a lot of times you don't know you need that gas can until you're in a spot where you need that gas can. And if they're not in stock on Tesla's website, or you have to wait a couple days for it to ship to you, even if it is in stock, that's not a great solution. So if you're a person who opts out, I would suggest make sure you're joining the Facebook groups for the different states and making sure you have a network of people in the area you travel. If you get in a pinch, maybe someone will be able to help you. Let's see what you guys had to say about that. And so, yeah, that was Roland's question. What do you think about the Tesla Cut, the provided charging kit? He uses it every day. Is it true people don't use it? Apparently, some people don't. Glenn doesn't. He uses street parking. Glenn thinks it should be an opt-out. You don't want it, you get a credit on your order. Yeah, that would just clarify. It would be a box you have to check when you're making your, finishing your order, and then it's, you don't, you need it or you don't. Jason thinks opt-in is preferable as long as it's clear as a step in the order flow. Yeah. I saw a suggestion that the order flow should be aware if the current order is the first Tesla, opting in by default. Yeah, that's a good idea too, making sure those first-time owners. I've talked about a friend of mine who who got a Tesla and just had dinner with them a couple weeks ago, and they're like, we haven't dug into any of the menus. We haven't done any of the, real tweaking and stuff. But they've gone on long road trips with it, and they just drive it. And, um, you know, people like that, with it being they obviously did get a connector with their car purchase, but, uh, I think they charge it with a 1450 outlet too in their garage. So, um, yeah, definitely making sure you double check with first time owners that they understand what they're ordering or not ordering and why. Um, Jason says it'd be interesting to see what metrics they used. If it was a rolling 30-day sample, probably they could make a bad decision. If it was what percent have never used it, then that's a stronger case, yeah. Um, yeah, you pick a rolling 30-day average without a major holiday in there, you're probably going to have a lot less usage. Glenn says he had a Verbo house in Iowa that must have had improper or complete lack of grounding, as he couldn't use the model. He couldn't use his on any outlet. Oh, okay. So yeah, you just wanted to use it. You didn't need to use it. Okay. But you sold your spare 1450 adapter to someone from Virginia traveling in Minnesota. Glad to help someone out. Yeah, that's very cool. Um, Jeff says he fills up at work for free. No more fuel charges. So happy. That's good if you can get it. I'm on off-peak charging here, and with working from home most of the time, you're replacing the 5 miles you drove that day if you had to go out and get milk or something. So it's been very cheap for me lately. Um, yeah, so uh, I think if they can improve their communications around the charging cable, um, and make it very clear what they're doing, I think it can work. But I still think there's a lot of times when it would be nice to have a couple Christmases ago. It was probably the first year we had our Model S, so probably the winter of 2018. We lost a lot of range going to my mother's house, and I just ran a cord out from the garage, 120. And by the time our festivity, I think we stayed overnight, so I got like 30, 35 miles back. And, that was plenty to give us a boost to make sure we got home again in the cold. So there are definitely use cases, and I think if you're in the habit of using it, you're going to use it. If you never think about it and it's in your under trunk, you might never use it. So um, I think I've talked in circles about that enough. But yeah, hopefully owners don't get stranded because of that. And interestingly, speaking of the 110 or 120. I just did an interview last night with two guys, Loring and Brian, who own the Kia e-Niro or Niro EV, and we were talking about their charging setup, and they just charge off a 120 all the time, and so a lot of people do that, and it works really well for them. But I was just surprised they both had very similar backstories and charge the same way and stuff. So that's going to be Sunday's video. Will be the interview with them and kind of talking about what it's like owning a Kia Niro. Talked a little bit about efficiency, a little bit about road trips with the slower charging speeds, their likes and dislikes and stuff. So I always find that stuff super interesting because obviously I know my car best, and when I test drive something, it's 20 minutes or so in a car and you go, yeah, it seems fine. But then talking to someone that lives with it can be a very different story. So hopefully you guys find that interesting. That'll be Sunday. Should be dropping about 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. Excuse me. It's very dry down here. Um, John said he's had Tesla service out here working on a light bulb that burnt out. He says he's got the chargers in stock in his truck. You could have bought one from him. John's just going to hoard all the charging connectors, mobile chargers, or mobile connectors. So if they're out of stock, go down to the service center and buy one. Yeah, If you're in desperate need, either find a Facebook group or somewhere where you can borrow one, or if you're near a service center, see if you can go in and just get one. Roland charges in Williston, North Dakota on 120, and he's making it work. John used his adapter or mobile connector in Duluth at the fairgrounds and plugged in for free. Nice. On eBay they're going for $500. Yeah, so apparently some people aren't using them. If they can, they're happy to sell them. Let's see. Just looking at my notes here, I want to make sure. Just quickly, I wanted to say congratulations to Brandon and Alex from the Living Electric podcast. Congratulations to Brandon and Alex from the Living Electric podcast. They had me on a few weeks ago, and we kind of talked about how I got into EVs and all sorts of stuff. But their podcast was just rated in the top 40. I think they were like number 22 or something of EV podcasts. So if you haven't checked that out, might be something you're interested in. Probably you might not want to watch the episode I'm in, because if you're watching this, you know it all. But generally they do a really good job, and it's enjoyable to listen to. Some of it's like EV 101 stuff. Some of it's about picking different cars or road trips or interviewing people, and just kind of interesting perspectives there. So this next thing I wanted to talk about was kind of it was brought up by the Jim Farley was on some auto magazine, maybe it was Fortune or one of those kind of magazines, where the headline or kind of the graphic, which I'm sure he didn't write, it was like, "Hey Elon, this is a real truck," and he's sitting in the F-150. And again, I'm sure he didn't write the copy of the magazine. That's all graphic design stuff. But that came out, and then yesterday or this morning, BMW was talking about how they've essentially just made Tesla obsolete, and it's good that everybody's pushing for EVs now, for the most part. Some people's efforts are more sincere than others, and I think we all know about that. But we're kind of in a point right now where if you make a good EV, a good, competent, capable EV, you're going to be able to sell all you can make. And so these other brands want to kill Tesla, or claim they're killing Tesla, and they make proportionally, 50 vehicles and Tesla makes 1,000, and if you can sell every EV you can make, it's going to be tough to take a dent out of Tesla. What they're really doing is taking a dent out of ICE sales. Now, some people will switch between brands and all that kind of stuff. That just happens with cars. But it's so like maddening to think of like, yeah, our growth is, amazing, and we sold twice as many as we did last year or last quarter or whatever, and it's like you're selling 100 instead of 50 or, a couple thousand, and it's great, keep that wheel spinning and spin it faster. But, there's just no chance until people are making EVs at the scale that Tesla is. There's no chance that any of them will be a Tesla killer. It's just not going to happen. So I think I'd like to see that rhetoric kind of die down, just kind of settle down, get back to us in 2025, and we'll see where everything's shaking out. I think I've said before that I do think Ford has done a good job of accelerating, they had some tentative plans, and then they were more firm, and they're like, oh no, people really want these. So it seems like they are really pressing and trying to make an effort. But still, with all the Mach-E's they're making, with all the Lightnings that will be coming out, and I'm excited for the Lightning to come out, it's not going to kill Tesla. It's going to put more EVs on the road and take more ICE off the road. So, yeah, I just think some of that stuff is just so overblown. And when you see people on the news and things like that saying that, it's to bring Tesla into their headline or whatever, like the magazine cover. They didn't put, hey, Elon, this is a real truck on there because, maybe they have great truck knowledge and, know exactly how each one's going to perform. More likely, putting Elon's name on it or Tesla's name on it gets clicks, gets attention, gets people talking about it, like me. And, it just kind of puts that, it gets people reading their articles and stuff. So, like, I get why people do it, but it's so cheap and pointless at this point. And then, Tesla does a earnings call like today where they just blow everything out of the water, and everybody's like, well, yeah, they always beat. What, no big deal. So, just kind of crazy to me. And then I don't know if I still have. Let me look into the sky. Let me look at my other. I do 2 monitors, but I do them stacked vertically, so I don't hunch over all day. Let me bring that down. Speaking of Jim Farley, excuse me. Actually, I'll catch up in the chat and then I'll share this. FUD cannons activate. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, Roland gets it. He's in the thick of it up there. He gets that FUD every day at Halliburton. Yeah. Anything to distract from the fact that Legacy Auto is in deep trouble. Yeah, if they don't start transitioning fast, and that's where I would like all of them to go faster and faster. But that is where I do cut Ford a little slack because, a handful of people I've talked to said, yeah, they doubled or tripled the plans that they thought they had, and then it was like, oh no, we got to go headfirst into this. So hopefully that's true on the inside. But we'll see. So I want to bring up this little guy here, and this is a tweet from. Let me see if there's second screen. Bringing you the second screen. Jeff, FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And so it's what a lot of the short sellers of Tesla and people who are anti-EV like to share. Hey, there I am. They like to share, false information or, spread doubt about, that's where a lot of the stories you hear about, mining stuff for the batteries is way worse than, drilling for oil or refining oil. And even though study after study has proven that over the life of the car, it's much, much cleaner. Even if the car is powered by electricity coming from coal, you're still cleaner over time than a gas car. But putting those articles out there and spreading that stuff, somebody on Twitter, I can't remember who it was very upset because they did an interview, I think with the BBC, and was assured that it would be a balanced thing. And of course, all that they published was her negative comments. And so, you do a 30-minute interview, 25 minutes of it is living with an EV is fantastic. And 5 minutes of, there are a couple downsides, and they just publish the downsides. So that kind of stuff is the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it's another good one, and I've talked about this on live stream before, but suggesting that people, if you really want to charge fast, you need to install a level 3 charger at home. And that can be up to, $50,000. But that would be like installing a gas station at your house. You don't need to do that. Nobody needs to do that. And installing a gas station at your house would be $500,000 minimum. But when people don't drive EVs and don't know and are already skeptical, you tell them that they need to do this $50,000 modification to their home if they really want to have a good EV experience, even though that's incredibly false. Like Roland's charging off a 120. Didn't have to pay to install anything there. And perpetuating those kind of things and muddying the waters for people to get clear and competent information from real owners. And so, some people have whatever their financial interests are to do those kind of things. Yeah, Glenn, thanks for bringing up Dan. I want to talk about him a little bit too. So anyway, before I get too lost because I'm on the screen, just wanted to share this. I saw this right before I was coming on, kind of as I posted, hey, this is going to be. Let's click into this. Oh, there's music here. I'm going to mute it. So this is the new Lincoln EV concept. And I have not watched this before, so this is my, you're getting my first reaction to the Lincoln EV concept. It's a lot of intricate lighting. And so we are seeing I can't tell. I guess those lighting accents go all around it, or are they lighting the vehicle differently in the set. Oh, it's still going. Is that the back then? Or is it? It must be the back. Interesting that they went with diamonds because that's kind of the pattern on the EV6. Little profile shot there. They won't be able to do that. We just talked about the Polestar Precept, and the concept doesn't have a B-pillar, and they will be putting a B-pillar in the real thing because you have to. So Ford Lincoln will have to do that. Ooh, that's a bench, maybe? Must be. But then it's always going to open awkwardly like that. Interesting. The back seats are lay down only. Oh, I guess they're a little more upright than they seemed from that angle. I mean, it's a cool concept with a pass-through to the. That's strange. I gotta go back and. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Okay. So under the front seats, you go past the steering or the pedals, and then up, and this front clamshell opens. That is unique. So that is the Lincoln Star concept that we're seeing for the first time together. Interesting to hear what you guys think of that. It seems very concept-y. Take that off. The B-pillar thing just won't fly from a regulatory standpoint. Maybe if they can, I don't know. I'm really skeptical about the B-pillar thing. Like, I was thinking maybe if you had the right shape of trussing, almost kind of Cybertruck-ish, if you could round that out to an arch that would be strong enough, but I don't think people, regulators are going to fly with that. And then that, like in the Polestar Precept, it's a great look, but that look is going to change, and getting in and out of it is going to change significantly with the addition of a B-pillar. It can still be a fine vehicle, but it's the openness to the front trunk seems like just an invitation for road noise, and if you put something in there, again, maybe it will be a full wall, because I would think if you put something in there, that was round like a sleeping bag or like a one of those tight bedroll kind of things. Oh, just throw it in the front. It works its way loose, and pretty soon you're driving and it's kicking the back of the pedals or something. I don't think that's going to make it to production either. The back was interesting that it folds out like a bench, but you're going to want that like 1% of the time. And it seemed kind of high up, like you'd have to hop up onto it. So, yeah, a little too concept-y for my taste. But it's very possible that I just do not understand luxury. some of those things just gonna go right over my head of why anyone would want that. But exterior, looked fine. Looked like an SUV. I saw it had kind of the little dome on the top. I'm guessing that's for LiDAR or cameras or something. Jason says, meh. Looks like a slightly less ugly Ford Flex. Honestly, it's terrible CG. There were a couple kind of that swing through over the consoles. I used to do some CG for events and stuff like that, and it kind of felt like the caliber of stuff I could do, which is not who Lincoln should be using for good CG. So yeah, I would have liked to see a little higher quality in the renderings there. Ambient light overload, yeah. 12 kilowatts of ambient lighting, Jason says. Yeah, Blue Dog 99 says it'll never look like that, not even close. Yeah, I'm afraid that's the case. The door will work if you shorten the wheelbase like an i3. Yeah. You can also do the back door, and this is what the RX-8 does. My brother has one of these. It's got the suicide doors, but the back door is shorter and the B-pillar is built into the door. So when you close the door, that is locked in. That holds the frame at that point. I think that's kind of what the ID3 does, or i3 does too. Jason says, again, a distraction from how bad it is for Legacy Auto. Tony says that Lincoln concept car doesn't look physically possible. Other than that, cool. Yeah. I was thinking whatever they're doing on the bottom would have to be so incredibly stiff that maybe they're going to cast sections and a structural battery, because that's a lot cantilevered out over the edges and then over the top and then so yeah, that didn't really do much for me, but again, it's it shows they're trying to make something happen. I didn't see a date on there. Somewhere I thought I saw like a 2025 or 2026 is when that would come out. The F-150 has the B-pillar in the door too. Okay. Yeah, that can work. It just means your door isn't the light, fluffy, airy thing that it looks like in the concept. So it looks like they've got some work cut out for them. Done a lot of work on the lighting and maybe not so much on how it will really work, but Blue Dog 99 says, I take that back. It might look like that after BYD buys Ford Lincoln. Well, yeah, that's the Chinese companies are definitely taking the transition to electric vehicles seriously, and I really like what Polestar is doing, and if you saw the video of the concept, I think it's really cool, and most of it is beautiful, and I think that the final product will be too. The Polestar 2 is a really nice vehicle, but when people talk about their issues with Elon or things he says, but I saw somebody saying that and then say, well, I'd take the Volvo XC40 Recharge. It's like, well, Volvo is now owned by a Chinese company, and that company also owns Polestar, and that can be fine. But I'm guessing, people who have problems with Elon's tweets also have some problems with how China does some things, and maybe they they're thinking of Volvo, the Swedish company, and not Volvo, the property of China. But yeah, we'll have to see where any of that goes. But let me see. I think that was. Oh no, I wanted to talk about the Dan O'Dowd thing. Who brought that up? Is that Glenn? Yeah, Glenn mentioned that Dan O'Dowd is using clips without authorization and is running his Senate campaign to shut down FSD. What a nutcase. And Jason says, Dano be cray cray. Yeah. So Dan O'Dowd runs a different software company. He's watched YouTube videos. Apparently, he says he owns Teslas, but he owns another software company and just thinks FSD is the dumbest, most unsafe, terrible thing in the world. And I've done a couple videos on why I think FSD is important, even if it is unfinished, because we need to get there somehow. And if Dan's got a plan to get us there, I would rather see him spend his time doing that. Or if any of these other companies, if people want to use LiDAR, if people want to use Scotch tape and hula hoops, I don't care. If they can solve autonomy and make the roads, considerably safer, then I'm all for it. I think Tesla's got a good approach, and they're iterating. They aren't there yet. But I'm cool with whoever solves it. Like, if Tesla's only contribution is getting the person who can solve it motivated enough to beat Tesla to do it, that's a great achievement all on its own. I, for the last couple of years, have been taking screenshots every time the local news posts a traffic accident. And remarkably, two things are true. People are terrible drivers, and they never mention the car company of the vehicle that was involved. And we know with Tesla coverage, they definitely mention the car company and tend to ignore whether someone was drinking or texting or whatever. And I meant to for today, because I have tons of these, just take a screenshot of those article headlines. And it's pretty much every day there's a fatality, or someone runs into the side of a bridge, or crashes in a tunnel or whatever. For various reasons. I'm sure some are health issues, some are drinking, some are texting, some are just inattentive, some are bad weather. But the roads are not safe right now. And people like Dan like to think we're starting from zero, as if there's no deaths, nobody's getting hurt, no accidents are happening. And Tesla's introducing into this pristine world this dangerous technology that might screw up sometimes. And it just completely resets the baseline of reality. So Tesla, if left unattended, if people didn't treat beta with respect and keep their eyes on the road, hands on the wheel, ready to take over like it tells you multiple times to do, yeah, we'd probably see some accidents. But we're already seeing accidents. And Tesla's monitoring the driver with the interior camera for the vehicles that have it. And monitoring you with, torque on the steering wheel. Just because there's ways to cheat it doesn't mean that Tesla is approving that or suggesting that people do that. And I think, as someone who's been in a pretty bad accident, luckily relatively unscathed, I find it really, really awful that someone is trying so hard to shut this down, and to the point of trying to run for Senate on this as a platform with seemingly no other intentions as a candidate. To be fair, I haven't watched. I saw the autoplay of the video with other people's clips in it, but I haven't clicked on it. I haven't read his platform, but presumably, at least to the public, from what I've seen from tweets and things, is that's his only platform, is kill FSD. And essentially what that's going to do is kill the momentum for autonomy. Like I said, Tesla might not crack it. They might not solve it. But if they inspire and get into an arms race with other companies who think they can solve it, and one of them does, and cars will, and eventually maybe Tesla even has to license their software or their sensor suite or whatever. I'm fine with that if that makes us, so much safer. So I get very frustrated with that, and the attitude that it's adding an element of danger that isn't already on the roads. Does it screw up sometimes? Do I have to take over? Yes, but that's a simple maneuver. When it does something I don't like, I take it out, and there's no question about when those times are, if you're doing it right. So, as far as him using other people's footage, it's crappy. I would guess with how people can use, react to movies, or I just reacted to the Lincoln thing. There's a fair use argument that, at least on YouTube, and I would guess in court, would hold up, because he's commenting on it. He's taking these clips and saying, see, it's a tragedy. So I don't think anyone's really going to get any traction as far as having their stuff taken out or anything like that. I would be very surprised if anyone does. So that's unfortunate, but that's just kind of the media landscape we live in. It's really super unfortunate, and I feel like he's kind of drunk on the name he's made for himself, and now, why not run for Senate? Why not take this as far as I can because I'm getting a lot of attention? So, super frustrating. I don't know what else to say about that. Just going back, I missed a few of these comments, so I'm going to close Twitter because it keeps flashing at me above here. So, just going back and picking up some of the comments here. John says, look at Kyle Connery. He's got over 100,000 miles on a battery pack in his Tesla Model 3. Yeah, they can last a long time. Jeff says, he was asking about the FUD, so thank you. You're welcome. Remotely related, thank you so much for the video with your country in-laws. It helped me prep when I showed my central Wisconsin in-laws, who are very politically charged. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that helped. It was a really fun video to do. I really want to do another one, but I've been waiting till all the EV trucks are out so we can compare. Okay, we talked a couple of years ago. Now, the F-150's out, the Silverado's out, Cybertruck's out, Rivian's out. Let's go through reality, all these specs. Are you impressed by these things? Are they, do you think you could, with your daily, work, do you think you could do that? Or, where are your hesitations or whatever? So, yeah, really want to do a follow-up on that one. John says his charging takes less than 6 hours at the house and he's sleeping and doesn't care. Yeah, exactly. The 1,500 increase on the Model 3 could pay for the install on the wall charger. Yeah, an expensive install too. Then we were talking about the Lincoln. After BYD buys Ford Lincoln. I'm catching up here, guys. Roland says the same with iPace of India. I don't know what that is, Roland. I'm not sure what the reference there is, but apparently there's a phone number, Jason says. So if you want to stop FSD, if you like people dying more and more on the roads, you can call that number and add your voice to people who think the roads are super safe right now. Yeah, I guess you could call and tell them the truth, yeah. Tyler says he just watched that commercial. It smells awfully funny in here. Are you? Hi, Tyler. By the way, are you referring to our lack of confidence in the Lincoln concept? I guess we shouldn't be spreading FUD on it. We'll see what actually comes out. John says that motorcycle accident you had, if the car had FSD, it never would have happened. Do you agree? Yes, I agree 100%. We were in a just quick recap for those that don't know. My brother and I were. I was riding on the back of the motorcycle. My brother was driving. No helmets, which is another thing. That was not my call. But my brother picked me up for work on the motorcycle. He wasn't wearing a helmet. He didn't bring one for me, obviously. But we only lived a couple miles out of town, so no big deal, right? And then had the unfortunate instance of an older gentleman taking a left turn across our lane. We couldn't slow down in time. Hit his car behind the passenger front wheel. I flew over the car. My brother hit the car. As the motorcycle kicked up, he kind of fell into it and then kind of rolled over it. Massive injuries and head trauma, broken arm, broken leg, a lot. Basically therapies and surgeries and things for about a year. So, big, really tragic impact on his life. And yeah, had his car had FSD, there's no way it would have crossed in front of us. Even at the state it's in now. It was obvious we were there. He just didn't see us. And so I've done a video explaining all that, and don't really love rehashing it, so I'm not going to too much. But, it's just an instance of when you look back and say, hey, this technology could have saved, huge expense, a huge change to the gentleman that we hit, his life and everything too. So anyway, yeah, so John, I do agree. It wouldn't have happened. Roland's got to get to bed, so have a good night. Thanks for stopping by, Roland. John wants everybody to hit the thumbs up. That'd be great if you did. It'd be appreciated. Thanks, John. Tyler says the Dawn Project was funded by Dan O'Dowd, the world's leading expert in creating sorry, I can't talk. The world's leading expert in creating software that never fails and can't be hacked. That's a very bold claim. Talking about asking for it, get a load of this guy. Well, he's, apparently got enough money to run for Senate and run on this, kill FSD platform. Tony says Dano reminds me of Edison when he railed against AC current back in the day. He was electrocuting animals to show how dangerous it was. Yeah, it was messed up. And like Taylor says, the commercial is cherry-picked trash. Like, I could, in fact, I've only put out like a couple FSD videos, but I intentionally left all of the bad stuff in and didn't necessarily show you the mundane, it changed lanes really well here, or we took a right and it was no problem. It felt really human-like, because that's not stuff that needs to be improved. I thankfully haven't done a ton of FSD videos, and my channel is very small, so of course he's not going to pick my stuff, but if you want to, I think that's almost more, he's using it as a negative, but it's almost more of a benefit of FSD that all of these people using it and all these people who are testing it are willing to say, hey, this needs to be fixed. That was bad. Oh, this is pretty good. Oh, nice move there. Oh, that's bad. Don't do that again. The fact that people are being honest about their uploads really should be a kind of an anti-argument to his position. Like, if people were trying to hide flaws, that would be much more suspect. John says he remembers he was going to New Brighton on 694. The left lane on a full self-driving in the car. Jerked to the left. Some guy on his cell phone was going into my lane, and Tesla countermeasures kicked in. Yeah, I've had things like that too. Or when I was going to change lanes, because I have the confirm lane changes, and I was just going to get out of the left lane, hit it. It started going, then jerked back to the other side, and I'm like, what the hell was that? And then I looked in my side mirror, and someone had come up behind me quick in 2 lanes over and was getting into that lane. And, they kind of jerked back to where they were at the same time the Tesla did, but I had no idea it was there. We easily could have, had a crash at, 65, 75 miles an hour, with traffic pretty tight. So it's not perfect, but it's, gonna save some things and stop some accidents. And, hopefully that number just keeps going up. It keeps getting better. More data feeding it is just going to make it better and better. So I hope logic and reality will win out instead of that, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think that's all I had for tonight. So unless anybody else has any other questions or anything, I'm going to wrap it up. This Yeah, Tyler, get off of there. If you want to sleep, you're gonna want to just ignore that exists, and hope people, don't take him seriously in a Senate run. Yeah, Tyler says Tesla full self-driving may do the wrong thing at the worst time. Um, how can anyone tolerate a self-driving car which may do the wrong thing at the worst time? Isn't that definition of defective? It's almost as if it's beta. Yeah, that's that's the thing. Is Tesla is like it may do the wrong thing at the worst time. Is Tesla warning us as we join the program, the beta program, that you need to be careful. You need to be watchful. You need to guide it like you would a student driver at this point. We'll get to a point, someday where that's not the case, but that's where we are right now. And he's taking Tesla being safe and cautious and warning beta testers, treat this seriously as a negative. And it's super frustrating. But anyway, on happier notes, if you're interested in checking out the Polestar Precept, it looks a lot better than the Lincoln thing we just watched. My video from last Sunday was kind of a walkthrough around what the Polestar Precept concept is and what changes they're going to have to make for its release in 2025. But it's, so it's, again, car far out in the future. But it kind of gives a direction of where Polestar's headed and kind of where they're taking their brand and what they're thinking. So I thought that video was pretty good. So if you're at the least interested, then go and check that out. It's pretty short. I think only 8 minutes or something. And then this weekend I'll have that interview with the Kia e-Niro guys. Or Kia Niro EV. I think they originally started calling it the Kia e-Niro, and then the last couple years it's been the Niro EV. So I still say it the wrong way all the time. But anyway, that video will be coming out on Sunday. If you're curious or you want to share that with someone who's curious about a lower cost, less connected, but very capable, good range EV, that's a good one to share with friends and family who are interested in the daily life of a Niro driver. So, yes, John, I will check my text on that. I did see that, so we'll do that. We might be talking to a Bolt owner who had their battery replaced and kind of how they're living with that. So. Have a great night. Thanks a lot. As Tony says, drive safe. And if anybody's in the Northfield area this Saturday, Tony, Tyler, and I will be showing our vehicles from noon to 4, I think, on Saturday in Northfield. So if you're around, want to come out and hang out, there might be some other Earth Day things going on down there too. So you're welcome to come, and I can talk at you more there, so who wouldn't want that? Anyway, thanks a lot. Have a great night, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.